A gunshot rips through a peaceful seaside village. An elderly couple is dead in their bungalow, their tea still hot on the table. 80 miles away, two brothers, Colin and David Gunn, are grinning, their revenge under their belts. They have built a crime gang out of drugs, violence and blood, turning their city into Shottingham. Their cartel currently operates with tight control, but the police are closing in. How did estate teenagers turn into crime lords? Why are their violent vendettas so disastrous? And can they be stopped? This is the true story of the Bestwood Cartel. In the 1970s, in Nottingham's sprawling council estate of Bestwood, crime took over the streets and poverty crushes families. This is where Colin Gunn, born in 1967, and brother David, born in 1965, grew up. The area feels like a ticking bomb, with unemployment at 20% and families scraping by on benefits or shoplifting. Colin, lanky with a calculating glance, learns to outwit the crowd, and David solves disputes with a punch. Together they are a force, impenetrable and fiercely protective. By the time they are teenagers, the brothers are bruisers at Henry Whipple Junior School, known for their bad tempers, but respected for moments of kindness. But there are hints of a desire for power. They watch older lads sell cannabis in backstreets, watching money exchanging hands as police turn a blind eye. Bestwood's criminal scene feels like a playground to them, and they are ready to jump in. By the 1980s, Nottingham's rave scene erupted, and with it, a huge demand for Class A's, ecstasy, amphetamines, and cannabis swept the city's dance clubs. Colin, who's now a teenager, is selling off tiny runs of pills, pocketing a profit, and making connections. David, meanwhile, earns a reputation as a thug. In 1985, Colin got his first conviction, cheque fraud for a whopping £10,000, 6 months inside a youth detention centre. It toughened him up, reinforcing his hatred of authority. David, too, steps over a line, landing before a court for a charge of assault after a street altercation leaves a man sporting a face full of blood. Their crimes are getting more serious, but they're learning fast how to frighten, make money, and stay a step ahead. Bestwood's tight-knit community, where snitching is a death sentence, guards them. Neighbours know the Gunns deliver rough justice, whether it's a stolen TV or a cheating partner, and because of that, people stay loyal. However, loyalty comes at a price. Brothers demand secrecy, and they're starting to get it at gunpoint. The early 1990s is a turning point. At 24, Colin, known as Knuckles, dreams of running the drug trade in Bestwood, and David, just out after serving 3.5 years for killing a man. The brothers gather a gang, John McSally, John Dawes, Michael O'Brien, all from the area, looking for money and power. This is the Bestwood gang. Colin's plan is carefully mapped out. They set up supply routes from Malaga, Amsterdam and Brussels, bringing in kilos of ecstasy and amphetamines. Gang members make more than 40 flights in 2 years, moving drugs and cash with military-style organisations. David handles street deals, making sure runners keep Nottingham's clubs stocked with their drugs. By 1997, the cartel widened its options to cocaine, its higher prices creating the wealth they would need for their empire. Between November 2002 and June 2003, they transported £8.5 million worth of drugs, laundering money through pubs, car dealing firms and real estate. Colin's paranoia, fueled by heavy cocaine use and steroids, shows through, but he still controls everything. David's violence keeps people in line. One man who stole from them had his eyelids torn off and his mouth badly injured, leading to a 4-year, 9-month prison sentence. But the empire is only half of it. And that's without even talking about the drugs. The Gunns have protection rackets for Bestwood's pubs, shops, and smaller businesses. Pay up, £100 a week. Refuse, your windows get broken, or your shop is smashed. Say no again, and your delivery van gets set on fire. It's only a matter of time before everyone moves back. But the Gunns wear a second face. To the 7,500 residents of the estate, they are protectors. They mediate disputes, returning stolen goods, standing up to bullies, and provide money to struggling families. Estate residents dub Colin a modern-day Robin Hood, a saviour of the estate. But it's a risk with a payback. Every favour earns loyalty, securing their silence when the police arrive. The brothers host community barbecues, finance youth footy teams, and even foot the bill for Granny's birthday greetings. But there is always a quid pro quo. A mum who gets £50 for groceries may later be asked to move illegal goods. A child who gets a new bike might owe them a favour. This double life, as kind figures and ruthless gang leaders, keeps the estate under their control. Police have a hard time getting witnesses, even victims won't speak. The cartel's strength is unshakable, but with power comes attention. The early 2000s Nottingham was at its breaking point. Gun crime spirals, 16 murders annually by 2002, up to 21 by 2004. Gun violence gives the city the nickname Shottingham, a label that hits hard. Colin, now 35, leads a spate of violence. Derek Sr., a social worker who dares to stand up to their power, was shot several times in 2002 on Colin's orders. He survives, but is badly scarred. Patrick Marshall, a drug dealer running an illegal street operation, is murdered in 2003 by enforcer John McSally, with Colin's approval and David watching. The cartel is tied to 6 murders and more than 50 shootings, each act tightening their grip on the city. Colin, high on cocaine, loses control and orders brutal beatings, even using chainsaws to scare off rivals. Gun crime makes the streets of Bestwood a fortress of fear, deserted streets at night. The city struggles under the grip of the cartel. Applications to the University of Nottingham drop by 10% as students avoid the Shottingham tag. Companies retreat, with giants like Boots unwilling to invest in the city. Tourists avoid Nottingham's Robin Hood statues and vintage pubs, scared off by reports of drive-by shootings. The people who stay are Bestwood residents, caught between the gun's generosity and their threats. Colin feeds off the chaos, seeing himself as Scarface's Tony Montana, with an ego blown up by power. David, who is less careful, rules by fear, moving through Bestwood like a gang boss. But their boldness attracts attention. The National Crime Squad, created to fight organised crime, began targeting the cartel. Undercover officers move in, tapping phones and watching the edges of Bestwood with surveillance vans. The Guns don't realise it yet, but they're heading straight into a trap. Everything changed on the evening of August 30th, 2003. At the Sporting Chance pub in Bulwell, the night was busy with late-night drinkers. Jamie Gunn, the 19-year-old nephew of Colin Gunn, was working as a doorman. 2 men, Michael O'Brien and Gary Salmon, tried to get inside, but they were wearing tracksuits and trainers, breaking the dress code. Jamie refused to let them in. An argument broke out. During the scuffle, O'Brien was hit in the face, possibly with an ashtray thrown by Jamie, and leaves humiliated, vowing revenge. They drove out of the car park, their headlights cutting through the darkness. Suddenly, a masked figure stepped into their path, holding a shotgun. A shot rang out, shattering the night. Marvin, who was driving, was hit in the head. Jamie, shocked but unhurt, held his dying friend in his arms while the attackers fled into the night. Marvin was rushed to Queen's Medical Centre but died soon after. He had been an innocent victim, mistaken for someone else. The consequences were serious. Jamie blamed himself for Marvin's death. He turned to drinking and drugs to cope. His health collapsed. By August 2004, just a year later, Jamie was dead too, killed by pneumonia, though his family believed it was the trauma that truly destroyed him. Meanwhile, Colin Gunn, who loved Jamie like a son, was filled with rage. Michael O'Brien was arrested and found guilty of Marvin's murder in July 2004. He was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 24 years to serve. Salmon, arrested later in 2007, gets 17. But prison walls can't protect O'Brien from Colin's thirst for revenge. At trial, O'Brien taunts the Guns, yelling, "Tell Fat Colin I've got something for him," and making fun of Marvin's death, saying his head looked like a red hole in a donut. Sitting in the courtroom, Colin glares at him, already planning revenge. Unable to get to O'Brien, he goes for the next best thing: O'Brien's parents, John and Joan Sterland. The old couple is a typical retiree without involvement with their son's criminal activities. But Colin, consumed by revenge, blames the Sterlands for Jamie's decline, believing Joan refused to testify against O'Brien. The Sterlands, already attacked with firebombs and gunshots at their Carlton home, move to Trusthorpe, a quiet Lincolnshire village 80 miles away. They move into a modest bungalow, hoping to be left alone. But Colin's intelligence network is extensive. Soon he finds their new address. It is a sunny Sunday, August 8th, 2004. Joan had called Lincolnshire police twice before, reporting a prowler near their home. Now, a black Passat pulls up the driveway. 2 men in boiler suits and caps, armed with handguns, approach the house. Glass shatters as they fire through the window. Joan cries out as a bullet rips through her chest. John tries to cover her but is hit with a point-blank shot to the head. Both of them crumple to the ground, dead almost instantly. Their killers speed away, leaving a stunned village. Police instantly suspect the cartel, but there is little evidence to show for it, until they discover Colin's fatal mistake. The Sterling killings moved the police into action. Operation Starburst, started by the National Crime Squad in 2003, is ramped up. Every move of the cartels is monitored. Phones are tapped, cars are followed, and meetings are bugged, but there is a problem. Charles Fletcher, a 19-year-old Nottinghamshire police officer, is a mole for Colin, selling case information for £2,000 a month. Fletcher, who was approached for the job before the police employed him, provides Colin with information, even alerting him to surveillance. Colin claims MI5 planted a bug in his letterbox, picking up whispers from 100 meters away. True or not, his arrogance blinds his judgment. In March 2005, police strike. Raids sweep Bestwood, seizing £500,000 in cash, 20 kilos of cocaine, and 15 firearms. Colin's trusted men, John Russell, Michael McNee, and Fletcher, were arrested. The 2006 trial at Nottingham Crown Court is a big news story. Prosecutors describe Colin as a powerful criminal, ruling Bestwood through fear. Secretly recorded phone calls catch him ordering the Sterling murders. Phone records show he was in Trusthorpe on August 8th. The jury delivers its verdict. Colin receives life, with a minimum of 35 years, plus an additional 9 years for bribing police. Russell gets 30, McNee 25, and Fletcher is given 7. David is found not guilty of the murders, but gets 8.5 years for drug offences. Police found £500,000 worth of amphetamines with him. There are riots at Bestwood, with 30 residents burning cars and breaking windows, angry at Colin's fall. But the cartel is finished. Without the brothers, the group falls apart. Members scatter as fugitives and turn on each other, giving evidence to the authorities. The Bestwood Cartel rose fast and fell just as hard. David's violence and Colin's cunning built an empire through the ruined streets of Bestwood, funded by violence, extortion, and drugs. They ruled through terror, disguising themselves as saviours. But their brutality, Marvin's killing and the execution of the Sterlings, destroyed them. Nottingham was the cost, becoming Shottingham. But the city resisted, its police and residents tearing apart the legacy of the cartel. The Gunn's tale is a warning. Power built on blood never lasts. What did you think of the Gunn's reign? Can Nottingham ever shake off its Shottingham history? Share your opinions in the comments, hit the like button, and subscribe for more crime tales. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and we'll catch up with you all again next time.